Good morning. How you guys doing? It's Mike back with the Daughter of the Day on August 5th, 2024. First, I want to give honor and praise to Ahaya Shoahaya, Bashem Yeshaya, or Wakadash. That's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in Hebrew. Then I like to open with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. May your will, not mine, be done. Today I want to talk about one of the theories about the Bible that just doesn't make sense to me. Many people come to us, especially fellow Israelites, so-called black people, and tell us not to read the Bible. The Bible is the white man's book, and it was created to keep you in bondage and in slavery. The part of this that doesn't make sense to me is that in the beginning, we were killed and tortured and beaten if we read the book or if we tried to read, period. If a book was created to keep people in bondage and in slavery, why would they not want us to read the book? If that was the case, they would have been pushing the book down our throat. They would have been telling us anytime we wasn't working, they would say, you better read that book. You better read that book. You better read that book. That wasn't the case. But instead, we were killed for trying to read it. Instead, we were tortured for trying to read it. Maybe because they never wanted us to know who we were inside the book. That's why they told us not to read it. Just think about school. They wanted us to learn about this society. They wanted us to learn about the social skills, the social studies. So they wanted us to learn about English and things of that nature. So we did reading comprehension. We had to read in class every day. Read pages 9 to 24 and then answer the questions in the back of the chapter. That's what the program was. If that was the case, they would have did the same thing with the Bible if they was trying to indoctrinate us to keep us in slavery. But no, they knew that if we continued to read it and read it, and especially front to back, we would eventually realize who we were. Now, were some things changed in there? Of course, the color of Christ and things of that nature, and the color of the people in there, it definitely was changed. You know what I'm saying? But to say that the book itself was created to do that, to keep us enslaved and indoctrinated, doesn't make sense. And most of this stuff comes from Egyptologists and people that do the Egyptian thing, and from some Muslims and Nation of Islam people, the first thing out their mouth is, don't open that book. It's the white man's books, and it's made to keep you in bondage and slavery. It just doesn't make logical sense. Because if I want to keep someone in bondage, I'm going to make sure that they read it, and I'm going to make sure that they read it cover to cover. So what they later on did was they started bringing out, in those theology schools, they started to teach and tell our people that, okay, since you can read now, don't read the Old Testament part. Start at Matthew. Start in the New Testament. That's only important because after Christ changed, everything changed. The Old Testament, the laws are done away with, so there's no reason to read that. Because now they knew that we were allowed to read. So now we can't stop them from reading, but we're going to control what they read. We're going to tell them that they didn't have to do that. And guess what? The first time I heard that, it wasn't a white man standing up at the pulpit to tell me that. It was a black preacher. Because he was one of the people that was hired to tell us that not to read the Old Testament. And why again? Because if we read the Old Testament, then we would figure out who we were. Y'all don't see this whole thing that's going on? That's why we wasn't allowed to read the book. And that's why they spread it out to tell us not to read it, because it was a white man book and it was created to keep us in slavery and this and that. And then you got to understand that all the stuff that we went through, you can't blame them. It was prophesied by the Most High. He said that we was going to go through all of that stuff. He said it in the prophecies. He said all of that stuff that we was going to go through. We was going to be enslaved for 400 years. We was going to go through a land where we wasn't going to know who we were. And that's why we wasn't allowed to read, because he said that we wasn't going to be able to know who we were for 400 years. That's logical. That other stuff that they're talking about is not logical. So throw that theory out the window. It's our history book, and it's for you to read so you can understand who you are. And don't let no pastor tell you that you don't have to read the Old Testament. You only could go to the New Testament. Don't worry about none of that. All that's done away with. That's the history of who you are. And that's going to give you the rules of what the Most High wanted you to do. And it's going to show you the commandments and the laws and for you how you could be obedient to him. That's the part they never wanted us to know. Enjoy the rest of your day. Shalom.